Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a pretty wild story from the world of blockchain, why a company that spent millions building its core technology just decided to give it all away for free. And believe it or not, the whole thing starts with a really simple but very tricky question. So, what do you think? It's kind of a trick question because the simple answer is they don't. They can't. You see, by their very design, blockchains are these super secure but totally closed-off systems. They can't just, hop on the internet and check the price of Bitcoin. And this creates a huge problem for any app that needs to know what's happening in the real world. I love this analogy. Think about it like this. You've got the most amazing, world-class chef, but they're stuck in a kitchen with no windows, no doors, no delivery service. They can only cook with the ingredients they already have inside that kitchen. They are totally cut off from all the fresh ingredients of the outside world. Well, that's a blockchain. So how do you get those fresh ingredients, that real-world data, into the kitchen? Well, you need a special, trusted delivery service. And in the crypto world, that's what we call a blockchain oracle. It's the secure bridge, the one thing that can safely connect that isolated blockchain to all the dynamic off-chain info it needs to actually be useful. Okay, so that's the core problem. Here's the roadmap for how one project, Charli3, set out to solve it on the Cardano blockchain, and in the process, ended up flipping its entire business model completely upside down. First, let's set the stage a little bit. In the early days of any new blockchain, you've got a ton of excitement, right? But you also have a lot of wasted effort. Everybody is facing the same basic problems, and everybody's trying to solve them all by themselves. On Cardano, this meant that developers were just constantly reinventing the wheel. If your project needed outside data, you had to build your own oracle from scratch. This was super expensive, it took forever, and it created this whole landscape of fragmented, siloed solutions. There was no shared, trusted infrastructure for this absolutely critical piece of the puzzle. And this is exactly where Charli3 enters the picture. They were founded back in 2021, and their mission was to solve this exact problem by building one single, high-quality set of oracle tools for the entire Cardano ecosystem. And they came at it with two main tools. You can think of the push oracle like a 24/7 news ticker. It's constantly feeding live data to the blockchain on a set schedule. Then you have the pull oracle, which is more like a search engine. It's a much cheaper option that lets an app request specific data only when it actually needs it. So two different tools for two very different jobs. So Charli3 had built the product. They had customers, everything was going according to plan. But by 2025, they looked around and saw that developers were still struggling, still building their own little solutions. So they made a decision that was, pretty radical. They decided they were going to give it all away. This quote from their managing director really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? They had this moment of clarity where they realized that by keeping their technology private, they were actually part of the problem. So the goal changed from selling a product to empowering the entire community and finally ending that cycle of redundant work. And listen, this was not some small gesture. We are talking about an estimated $2 to $3 million in R&D and development costs for the technology they just decided to make totally open source. That is a huge bet on a totally new kind of strategy. And this wasn't just them, uploading some files to GitHub. It was a very deliberate three-step plan. Step 1, really understand the community's need. Step 2, release all the code. And step 3, the big one, formally transfer all the intellectual property, making sure the tech becomes a true piece of community-owned public infrastructure. And they released it under something called the MIT license. Now, this is basically the ultimate permission slip for a developer. It means anyone, anywhere can now take Charli3's code, they can look at it, they can change it, they can use it for their own project, or they can even build a competing commercial business on top of it, completely for free, no strings attached. Okay, so this brings us to the big, obvious question, right? How does a company possibly survive after giving away its core product? The answer is they had to evolve. They had to pivot from selling a product to selling a service. This table lays out that shift perfectly. In the old model, they sold data feeds, and you paid with their own kind of volatile token. In the new model, they offer consulting, support, and managed services for other companies who are now using their open source tools. And they switched payments to a stablecoin, which gives everyone, their partners and their customers, way more predictable costs and rewards. Their own C3 token now gets a new job. It's used for governance and for certifying official networks. So, with the code now free for everyone and a new business model in place, what's next? Well, let's explore their long-term vision, because it's about so much more than just a single set of tools. This timeline really maps out the whole journey. From their founding in 2021 to getting their first Oracle live in 2022 to that massive open source pivot in 2025. And now, that next step for 2026 is even more ambitious. It's about building an entire ecosystem around this public good. And what's really important here is that the vision isn't just about giving away some code. It's about building a collaborative future. They're developing these specialized partner chains just for Oracle data, and they're launching a marketplace where developers can build and share tools with each other. All of this sets the stage to expand these solutions way beyond just Cardano to other blockchains too. And that brings us right back to the final fascinating question. This is a massive strategic gamble. By open sourcing everything, they've literally given anyone the tools to compete directly with them. But their bet is that by turning their product into a public good, they're not just creating a company, they're building the foundational layer that will let an entire ecosystem innovate faster than ever before. It's a huge risk that could fundamentally change how we think about creating value in a decentralized world.